Well, good morning and welcome to your Friday 5 for 5. As always on Friday mornings, I'm Adam Howard, the worship pastor here at First Baptist Church of the Islands in Savannah, Georgia. This week in our 5 for 5 devotionals, we have been continuing to look at our discipleship pathway here at Islands First. Last week, we talked about the importance of gathering in worship. And all this week, you've heard from our pastors about the importance of community and fellowship in the church or in the body of Christ. Bill Hybels, pastor at Willow Creek, said, if the church is going to develop the kind of beauty that God says is possible, that which will attract others to Christ, we're going to have to commit to becoming together the kind of church that Christ calls us to be. A church that is a biblical fellowship, a community of believers bearing one another's burdens and joys. In his book, Rediscovering Church, Bill tells of a great message by Dr. Gilbert Bilzekian, who said, the only kind of fellowship many know in church is after a service when the old men stand around and ask each other superficial questions. Then they find their wives who've been having similar conversations and they just go home. And in many churches, it just doesn't seem legal to tell anyone you're having problems. He writes, families that sat in the same pew for years would suddenly just disappear because the husband and wife were in turmoil over marriage problems. And instead of coming to the church for help and prayer and support, they fled the other way because they didn't feel the freedom to simply say, we're not doing well. Our lives feel like they're unraveling. Help us. The implicit understanding was that you shouldn't have a problem, and if you did, you'd better not talk about it around the church. Bill says that he unfortunately learned that lesson all too well when he was old enough to stand on that church patio after services himself and talk. He said that his school friends would ask how things were going, and he would give that standard answer, you know it, fine. But he shared that really deep inside his heart was being ripped to shreds because his girlfriend broke up with him, or he was spiritually flatlined, or he was having family problems at home, but he was too scared to talk about it. He didn't say anything because he felt like a good Christian just didn't admit to having those kinds of real life difficulties. And the sad reality is that in many churches across America today, that's what we think of as fellowship. But that shouldn't be fellowship. True biblical fellowship has the power to revolutionize lives. These masks come off. Conversations get deep. Hearts get vulnerable. Lives are shared. Accountability is invited and tenderness flows. People really do become like brothers and sisters. They shoulder each other's burdens just as we're told to do. We are stronger when we stand together, when we lean on one another. We've gotten so good at wearing our mask and being who we think others expect us to be. But we are called to be so much more, and we are called to be that together. So I encourage you, let's take our masks off. Let's be real with one another. Find your tribe, whether that's a grow group, a D group, a Bible study, a workout group, the choir, or just a group of friends who study and pray together. We need true biblical fellowship. So let's be real and let God do what He does best: heal, restore, and grow His kingdom. It's time for us to take off our mask, to admit that sometimes we fail, sometimes we fall, but that we have a God who can see us through every heartache, through every burden. We're not perfect, but we serve a God who is, and only in Him and through Him can we make it every single day. So I encourage you, let's be the church that God has called us to be. Let's bear one another's burdens. Let's live true community, and let's fellowship together just as we are. If God can accept us just as we are, just as we come, then we should be able to accept others that same way. I love you guys and can't wait to see you this Sunday morning as we worship together again at 9 or 10:30. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.